Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, didn't get our live stream done last night. I'm sure many of you noticed that, and I do apologize, but it was a little out of our control. We had some of the weirdest weather I've seen here in a while. From about 7 o'clock or so in the evening through till about 11 o'clock, we had non-stop, constant lightning all around us. Lots and lots of thunder, of course. I mean, it just was rattling the house at times, but not one drop of rain. But after 11, then the rain finally started to kick in. But the lightning itself really prevented us because we use satellite internet to do our live streams, and it just interfered with the data speed. We just couldn't do it. It just wasn't fast enough to run a live stream. So I do apologize for that. Maybe we'll get one done today or tomorrow or something like that. We'll see how things go. We're kind of busy, but we'll try to squeeze something in like that. Wanted to revisit the border. Yes, I know some of you are, well, it's kind of fizzled out, but I don't think it has, because what's going on down there is really more nefarious than just a bunch of illegals crossing the border since Title 42 has ended. If any of you have watched mainstream news, and I know many of you don't watch it, but if you have, you've probably noticed them try to spin it that, well, nothing's really going on at the border. I've seen news articles from mainstream news sources that there's no surge, there's no increase, there's no chaos at the border. It's all pretty calm. That and the White House is actually spinning it that there's no illegals. There's not any illegals coming across. And, well, let's just get into that, because it all depends on the definitions of what they're saying. First of all, Border Patrol reported last week alone that they apprehended over 83,000 illegals just last week alone. That is an all-time record high for the amount of illegals that they apprehend at the border. And again, that's apprehended. That's only the ones that they know about. That does not include however many illegals made it across the border that they were not aware of. But here's what they're doing that's very nefarious. In the days leading up to Title 42 and the day of Title 42 ending and stuff, we did see a lot of illegals surging all along the border, crossing the river, trying to crawl through and jump over the fence. We saw a video of Texas National Guard putting out concertina wire and trying to prevent them from crossing. And then all of a sudden, it seemed as if that went away, that it all just stopped. And there's plenty of footage and reporters on the ground showing that all of those places, or at least many of them, where we were seeing this surge where they were just trying to get into the country somehow, all seemed to stop. And it's interesting what's going on. It's more than interesting. There are reports, and in a lot of this information I'm giving you, this is from reporters on the ground that are reporting on a kind of a moment-by-moment basis through Twitter and other means, that they are seeing basically hardly anyone trying to cross at all of these fenced areas, and they're trying to be funneled in through certain checkpoints that are run by Border Patrol, that are basically just allowing them to come in. They're giving them court dates sometimes, and some of these court dates are years in advance. They don't have to report in until that court date. They're just allowed to roam the country free for years, because these court dates are 3, 4, and 5 years in advance. But it gets even worse, because as this was happening, a lot of these on-the-ground reporters were trying to report on that, and they started noticing something happen. That at these border checkpoints, buses were coming in. Buses were coming in from the Mexican side into the U.S. border, filled with what appeared to be a bunch of illegal immigrants. And the reporters weren't allowed to film it. They were trying to be blocked from filming these areas, and just couldn't see exactly what was going on, but they could tell that there were lots of bus activity. Well, according to some of the reporters that have spoken off the record with some Border Patrol agents, what is happening, it seems, is that there are certain designated areas in Mexico that they're now telling these people, and when we say tell these people, you might wonder, well, how is that? it's been reported for a week now or so that Department of Homeland Security has been communicating with a lot of the illegals on the Mexican side via chat rooms. So there's set up chat rooms, maybe it's something like Telegram or something like that. And so they'll get on there and they'll tell them which areas to go to try to cross. So they're telling them, posting in these chat groups, which areas to go to. And when they go to that area on the Mexican side, they are picked up by buses and brought across. And you might wonder, how in the world is that possible? Well, they're declaring themselves to be that refugee or that asylum-seeking status on the Mexican side via an app that the Border Patrol and DHS has. So they can get this app, they can do all the paperwork on their phone, declare themselves to be asylum seeking, and then a bus will go and pick them up on the Mexican side and bring them across. So we're not seeing this massive influx of people coming across the border over fences and through the brush and across the river. So really it's all about the optics, so that the Biden administration and the mainstream media can spin this that there's just not a lot of illegals. There's no illegals coming across. It's because they've already declared themselves asylum seekers and therefore technically aren't illegally coming into the country. They're coming in as asylum seekers. And this is being allowed in mass amounts. There's other things that are happening that are all about optics. Down in El Paso, Texas, over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of video released in that city where there's just thousands and thousands of illegals laying on the streets, massive encampments around buildings, predominantly churches, and being homeless. They're just sleeping on the ground in sleeping bags, and it looks pretty bad. Well, the city of El Paso ordered that all cleaned up, and so all of those illegals were rounded up, put on buses, and taken to camps, detention camps, and there are videos of that. And so they ordered that a whole area cleaned up. So now the media comes in and they show El Paso. They say, look, there's no illegals anywhere. It's not that bad, except they're all at these camps. And there's drone and other video footage of these camps, and they're actively, very rapidly building them. They look very much like the COVID detention camps, quarantine camps that we saw built over in China. And they look very similar to that. And so there's no indication that there aren't any or there are less. In fact, all the indicators show that there's much more illegals coming across the country. They're coming in and they're being shipped to these detention camp facilities, migrant camps. And then from there, they'll be dispersed across the country. There are reports of certain American companies that do they're transit companies. They do bus rentals and stuff that are down there that are picking them up and taking them to certain designated areas. And it's interesting that this is all trying to be kept hush-hush, very quiet. They don't want anyone to know it. And then not only don't want anyone to know it, but they're trying to spin it that all this right-wing media that's saying that there's this massive rush. Well, there isn't. There's no massive rush. There's no illegals coming across. We just have a 100-fold increase of, asylum-seeking people coming across, and that's not illegals. And so it's the twisting and spinning of words, and they're trying to display a different kind of optics so that the average American person sees nothing, and they're like, well, it's just a nothing burger. Let's just move on to the next exciting thing. And they don't realize that hundreds of thousands are coming across the border now pretty much at a weekly basis. 80,000 last week plus. Who knows how many will be coming across. They're all there's definite video on the southern side into Mexico showing tens of thousands of people gathering at different areas along the border, just trying to funnel through these checkpoint areas. This, folks, is an invasion. Not only is it an invasion, but if all these things that I'm saying are true, and I'm only telling you them because the information that I've seen and been given does indicate that it's true. I can't completely promise you, but it does indicate that. But the point is if this is true, I think what it shows something even bigger than just illegals coming across the border it shows that we've completely lost control of our government. If our government is doing something this nefarious to bring illegals illegally into our country, to basically destroy our country, not because they're all such bad, horrible people, but because it's going to create such a massive burden on our already broken system, that it could very well be that final straw that breaks the camel's back. You must remember, as I've said in other videos, that this is all part of this Agenda 2030 Great Reset plan, where they will have millions and even up to 1 billion, they claim, displaced migrants from third world countries due to climate change. And that, you know, countries like America and throughout Europe, they just need to accept them. It's interesting that those are the areas that are getting them. You're not seeing tens of thousands or millions of migrants moving into Russia or China or other places like that. It's the United States and it's Europe, because they're trying to destroy the West. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. They don't want this idea of freedom. They don't want this idea that there are areas that are more prosperous, and of course they're making things like race, ethnicity, and and wealth be a big factor in trying to displace people into these areas. This is absolute destruction of our country. This is akin to a civil war, and this is. There's no other way to put it, folks. We're watching our country being lost right before our eyes. It's bad enough that they can affect elections, that they can cause you to lose and take away your business, force you to be locked down, force you to have things put into your body. And now they're doing this under the cover of darkness, going into another country and busing in people into this country illegally. And many of you still think that we still have an America, that there's still freedom here, that there's still a hope and a chance of things being turned around. And I'm here to tell you that my personal beliefs is that's not true any longer. I think that we are watching the final nails being put into the coffin. And the only thing that I can tell you is that you need to start really seriously getting ready for this, because the amount of downfall that we are going to see as a nation due to the influx of millions, and we're speaking of millions, numbers ranging anywhere from 6 to 10 million a year, could easily be coming into this country in the next couple of years, is going to cause such problems for American cities, whether it be drains on their social services, drain on their law enforcement, drain on housing, medical drain. There's already reports coming across the border, the reports from Border Patrol, the amount of disease, scabies, lice, things like that are tuberculosis that they're finding in the immigrants coming across the border is astronomically high. We're watching things rapidly change. And they're doing a really, really good job of hiding that from the American people. Don't let you be one of the ones they're hiding it from. And get yourselves ready and prepared. Defense needs to be a very high priority, because there's certainly a lot of criminal elements coming across. And if they get into your area, there could be some massive crime increases, which is what we've seen in other areas where it's happened. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.